Welcome back to another Crowd Control. This week is a big one because we're talking about 4 campaigns, maybe 5, maybe a little bit more with a guest, that are all launching this week.
Yeah, let's talk about, I want to jump right into this one, Degenesis, because this one it's kind of an enigma. It's weird. I don't really understand, but they have produced one of the greatest live action trailers.
Well, that's 8 years old.
They made it 8 years ago.
So we researched this game. Degenesis Clan Wars is this game. This is a miniatures skirmish game. It's coming from CMON, and although I think it was birthed by another company long ago.
There was a tabletop RPG set in this world. Yeah, about 8 years ago that came out.
Yeah. We did a little bit of digging, but the game itself that's on the campaign right now is a miniature skirmish game. It's described as semi-cooperative for 4 of the players, and it'll play up to 5. And if you do, that 5th player, but 1 player necessarily every time, is going to play sort of like the big individual, like one versus many. But it sounds like the many are also competing with each other as well.
One versus one versus one versus
one. One versus the rest.
One versus. It's weird because usually when you hear one versus many, you do think that it's going to be
just
fully cooperative against one. So it's almost like asymmetric factions, but 4 players are playing similar games and 1 player is playing a very different game. It's unique. Let's say that. It's unique and ambitious.
And speaking of unique, it looks really cool too. It's a very elegant look to it. Very limited use of colors. There's like red and black and white. A lot of red, black, and white. And some other colors, of course, as well. But the graphic design and everything on this is very, very elegant. And I think that comes from the original source material because we did some digging. If you go to the Degenesis.com,
it's a great website.
It's more about, it's a beautiful website, and it's more about their tabletop RPG. And there is a trailer. I will tell you, this has nothing to do with this Clan Wars game, but the trailer they have on their website for this
for the world
property,
for the property,
is like rivals live action movie making. It had to have cost a significant amount. But anyway, that is a campaign coming to Gamefound from CMON as we speak.
Yeah, we have another one. This is called Rebirth from Rainer Knizia. If you don't know who that is, he's one of the masters of game design. The Doctor he's kind of known, and he's very famous in Germany especially. Apparently, he can't even walk down the street without getting recognized. That's the level of fame he has in Germany.
It's
a different world over there. They love their board games. But he's very prolific, and all of his games, none of them are really the same, but they all do kind of lean on abstract scoring and a little abstract gameplay. This one is no different. This is called Rebirth, like I said, from Mighty Boards. Their contribution to Knizia, as they've said,
is making it look awesome.
Is to make his games look awesome. We've talked about in the past, some of his games don't always have the best presentation, which is a shame because I think some of them get overlooked just because the cover doesn't grab your attention. This cover should grab your attention already.
This cover grabbed both of our attention. I saw this sort of announced when they put out their press release, and I reached out to them. I'm still hoping we can get a copy of this, but on the cover alone, I was like, I need to know what this game is. And then I saw that it was Knizia, and I was like, I really want to get this played.
And it's an abstract style tile placement game. So there is a theme. It's Scotland, post-apocalyptic. You're kind of rebuilding it and regrowing it. You play as the different clans. And really, it's just a game about positioning and scoring. You're placing all of these tiles. You're filling the board with all these tiles. Of course, every tile is going to score you points. And then you're building some settlements based on positioning, scoring more points. So it's just like a constant game of where can I place this to score the most points, setting up for those really big turns. And we've seen gameplay similar to this in some of his games, but he's very good at point salad style or games like this where you're just getting points in so many different ways.
Yeah, they generally feel very rewarding because on most of your turns, you're going to be placing the tile and scoring some points, right then while you place the tile, and this one looks no different. We've got 2 more, maybe 3 to talk about, but before we do, our friend Rolling Reggie has a little bit something to say about some crowdfunding.
What is up, everybody? My name is Reggie, and you can find me at rolling.reggie all over the interwebs. Today, I am very grateful to be a part of the episode. Thank you to David and the Man vs. Meeple crew for inviting me on to talk about a campaign. Now, this campaign is called PNW, Card Games Inspired by the Pacific Northwest. I was so ecstatic when I discovered this. I'm from the Seattle area. The creator is a Seattle native. The artist is a Seattle native. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. and it ended in March. And I was very disheartened, but I reached out to Thomas and he promised that there would be a pre-order up soon. And now he's got his own website right here, gameswell.shop, and you can order it right now like I did. I pre-ordered this campaign myself, and he estimates it'll be ready in September. So what is it? It is a book? Is it a game? You might be looking at this imagery and thinking, what could this be? But it really is a gorgeously illustrated book with 6 rules for games that can be played with a standard deck of cards. The art is by Megan Weir-Whedon, and some of the games require like tokens, and that's the one thing that's missed if you don't get the Kickstarter, which is over now, are these beautiful wooden tokens, but he assures you, you can use whatever you want, your own tokens from other games, shells, dice, whatever. So these 6 games, again, utilize just a standard 52 card deck, and they have interesting modern mechanics. So one that he released the rules for free on the campaign, a PDF called Forage, is a set collection game for 8 players about mushroom. Then there's a worker placement game about orcas. There's a solitaire game. There's a drafting game. There's a deck builder, and there's a team trick-taking game. So there's from 1 player up to 8 players, 6 games in this gorgeous book. I mean, it would make a great gift. It is beautiful art. Like, it's gonna go great here. I think I'm gonna definitely like display it front and center, and I'm really excited. It's such an interesting campaign because it's a book and it's art and it's decoration, but it also will give you 6 new, fresh games that are based on such a beautiful part of the United States, a place that I'm very fond of, and some people might visit themselves. I'm now in Oregon, and I know we still get tons of tourists out here to go hiking, to go to the coast in Seattle area, in the Portland area. And so PNW was really, really exciting for me, and I'm so glad that we can pre-order it. This is his debut campaign, and I'm really excited about this beautiful, gorgeous, lovely collection of 6 games.
Thank you, Reggie. It's always an exciting day when those games finally deliver and you have that giant package on your front doorstep.
Yeah.
So we got 2 more, or maybe 3, as David said.
Maybe 3.
A little 2.5. But go talk about the next one because this is exciting.
This is a big Euro. It's from Quinted Games, and it's called Stupor Mundi. This is coming to Gamefound this week. And every so often, and we've talked about this on the channel before, a game comes along where you're like, well, that's a Euro. This is that game right now. If you look at this thing, this is the Euroist of Euros, but it has a really cool production too. You're all building these castles, and there's also a main board where there's going to be a castle built as well. One of the really cool things is we just got a copy. Yeah. We are going to be trying to get some content up on this, but we need to sift through the rules to learn it completely. But what I've gathered, one of the cool mechanics is, this is a player board. People are going to be playing cards that are kind of multi-use, because if you play them face up, I assume you're going to be using their face up ability or effect. But if you play them face down instead, you're going to potentially trigger some of these actions that are in between the card spaces that you can use. And that's just on your player board. Out on the main board, you're going to be going around this sort of rondel collecting things, tiles, I think maybe even more of these cards and whatnot to bring into your play space. And then finally, everyone in their play space has this big area where you're building this castle. It's kind of like the core concept of the game is building this castle. And there's a dynamic link between what you're doing in your play space and the castle that's in the main board, because that's going to like allow for some sort of alliances or things like that. I don't know if that's with other players at the table or if that sort of central figure plays kind of, in essence, something that you can ally with. Yeah. But we hope to get this played soon, and once we do, we will get some content up just to let you know a little bit more about the game.
Yeah, and you left off the best part. The designer, it's Nestor Mengore, who is a fantastic designer, most recently, or maybe not most recently, but did Autobahn last year, which is like, I love Autobahn.
Plus, Darwin's Journey.
Right, Darwin's Journey, he collaborated. He's worked with Simone Luciani in several games.
Newton.
Yeah, that whole Italian design group. Yeah. That's a huge
I did leave that out. That was that's maybe the biggest thing about it.
All right, and I've got one I want to talk about. I'm dying to get to play this game again. We saw it at PAX last year. This is Ironwood from Mind Clash Games. Well, and this is kind of like the small box Mind Clash. This is not the giant, huge, 4-hour-long table game. This is a 1v1. It's kind of, I don't really want to call it a skirmish game, although it is a tactical game.
Tactical skirmish
duel. It's a tactical skirmish dueling game set on a map, but you're playing asymmetric factions, and they're playing in different ways with different in-game goals. You have two factions, the Ironclad and the Woodwalkers, and these are factions with their own different components and different goals. What's very cool is, if at least on the Kickstarter version, the Ironclad's components are metal and the Woodwalker's components are wood.
I know.
That's pretty cool.
That is a silly little touch, but oh my gosh, that is the coolest touch I've seen in a long time in board games. I love the fact that thematically your components are different between the two factions.
Yeah, and your goals are. The Ironclad are the aggressors. They're coming in. They're trying to kind of root out the Woodwalkers and build these strongholds. Meanwhile, the Woodwalkers are trying to avoid the Ironclad and collect their totems that are spread out through the Ironwood. So the whole conflict takes place there. And like I said, it is a 1v1 game. It's card play. It's tactical decisions you're making. But it's not a long game. It's going to be like an hour or so. Again, it's not maybe what you'd expect from Mind Clash, but this is kind of their small box.
I would say this, while it's a completely different game, this probably falls more on the spectrum of Septima and less on...
even less.
Even less so?
I mean, it doesn't take up, a huge table presence. And the fact that it is 2 players does kind of, it's not going to be a super long game when you're playing 1v1.
Yeah, I think Mind Clash wants to establish themselves as like, when you hear their name, they don't want you to just think of things like Anachrony that takes up more than this table, or Trickerion, which is
those are the games I love
heavy as a lead.
That Trickerion clutch, I just moved, and that Trickerion clutch position was like a box in itself to move that thing.
It's a lot. The last one we wanted to mention, this is just a mention for all you Thunderstone Quest fans out there. AEG is having another campaign right now that has 2 new expansions for that. I don't know how many expansions they have now.
I don't know, 4 or 5?
I'm sure this campaign is going to, for those of you who aren't into Thunderstone, you probably get all things Thunderstone.
I guarantee they're going to give you
If that's the case, I don't know how much that would be, but how much do you think that would be?
500 probably. I mean, they're
at least.
At least. I remember getting...
They've run like 4 or 5 campaigns since Thunderstone Quest originally.
They have, and I did the all-in on the original Thunderstone Quest, and I think I have one of the expansions. There's just a lot of content out for that.
There's a lot out there. Let us know in the comments below, how much do you think that'll be? Now, no peeking. You can't go to the campaign now. We're recording this beforehand.
Yeah.
But if you have any questions about any of the campaigns we talked about, please make them in the comments below. We'll get down there, try to answer whatever we can. Until next time, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we will see you then.